Hi there, and welcome to the RSS with myself, as usual, Raj Saleh and Jason, the Kuchingite Sim, for another edition of our podcast. And as we are about to, we are celebrating another Merdeka Day, National Day, on the 31st of August for this edition. We thought we'd talk about what it feels like to be one, Sarawakian, or two, East Malaysian, celebrating National Day as it is since Malaysia Day was first celebrated back in 2011, and how different it is for us as East Malaysians celebrating, the 31st of August compared to the bygone years, I suppose.
Yep.
And now we're also with Sarawak Day in the mix. On the 22nd July, which a day I can't remember, I can't forget because it's one day before my father's birthday. And yeah, so it's something that has, and also it's also 3 years to the day since I first arrived in 2021, almost 3 years to the day. Actually, I arrived on the 30th of August 2021, and I remember back in 2021 we were still being quarantined for 2 weeks. So I was quarantined in a hotel in Kuching for 2 weeks. I wasn't let out, and I remember sending, I've got photos of each meal I took photos of each meal, but that's another story to be talked about. Well, maybe we will talk about it in this edition, but maybe not. It's the same as like putting on the list of, when will we talk about Timor? That'll be another day. But yeah, so this edition is very, very special because it's going to be obviously out on National Day 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with asking, you really see Malaysians or at least Sarawakians on TV or on a podcast like asked to answer this question. I mean, you've lived in West Malaysia for a long time. Obviously, you said 3 years to the day, almost 3 years to the day that you'll be back. How do you see August 31st? Like Merdeka Day?
It's been quite muted the last 3 years since I've been, obviously 2021.
Muted here, you mean?
Well, obviously 31st of August 2021, I was stuck in a hotel room. And yeah, I don't think anyone pretty much celebrated then anyway. I think at the time, because of it was still sort of, it wasn't aftermath of COVID, but COVID was still was still there. So it felt a bit weird. 2022, I think it was held in Malacca. Oh, sorry, we're talking about not Malaysia, but the 2022 celebration. I can't remember where they were, but it was quite muted in 2022. And I remember 31st August 2023. That was really muted. I mean, for us here in Kuching, especially. I mean, not to say that people were less patriotic, but I think because of this, now that people are more aware that August 31st was more for the Federation of Malaya being formed. So it doesn't have any significance to us in East Malaysia.
Yeah, when it gained its independence.
Yes, when they gained their independence from the British, whereas we were still under the British until 1963, 22nd July. So, but before that, and for you as well, especially, living here prior to the Malaysia Day celebrations, wasn't that the only celebrations that you guys had?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, August 31st was always a big deal. I mean, obviously it was the only holiday. It was always on TV, and we only had 3 channels, of course. And then, yeah, I mean, it's been drilled into you for a long, long time. And obviously in the last few years, when there's this growing sense of Sarawak nationalism, right? And then with Malaysia Day, and we're more aware of history. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can say it's a lot muted here. I can say that for a fact. It's a lot more muted here than it was when you're staying in, over there. But the question is, does it have any significance for you at all? Like, how do you feel personally about that day?
August 31st?
Yeah,
I always thought it was just in my line of work, any holiday didn't matter because we worked different hours. So I never really celebrated. The only one I really celebrated was when, I was actually working on the actual day itself. Like, for example, New Year's Eve, it was an MC for that. I celebrate along with the. I think New Year's was probably a big thing for not just for me but for everyone else as well, because it was actually a time that everyone celebrated together around the world.
Yeah.
And people always talk about maybe Chinese New Year, but again, I think New Year's was the Gregorian calendar. Yeah. Now you go into the New Year's was one that was pretty much celebrated by everyone across the world. But in terms of the National Day, yeah, we celebrated it. I mean, I think I have a good friend, Kui. He used to be the host for Disney. His birthday is on August 31st, so we usually wish him happy birthday on August 31st rather than National Day. Say, hey, everyone's celebrating your birthday. So we made it into a joke. But in KL, yeah, we sort of, obviously it was a lot more done there. And there was actually one year when everyone was quite fully patriotic. You see all the cars with the flag going around. And there was one particular car, I think it got viral. There was like one car that had like, sort of million flags on pasted on his car. We have it. It had like some silly ones. They had to put it over the engine, and everyone's like, "You're just gonna burn the flag, are you?" But yeah, but here, no, not so much. Especially in recent years, I think because the realization that we were not really part of that celebration. But there's always this argument like, hang on a minute, now you are part of Malaysia. But again, the argument could be said that Malaysia wasn't really formed until 1963, when the name was actually mooted or created on September 16th, remember? From it being, Federation of Malaya with North Borneo and Singapore and Sarawak, and that was what it was. But the name Malaysia came in September 16th. So going back to National Day on August 31st, and us being the argument in the past, us being relegated to a state, and now we're back to being a wilayah of territory is significant. So yeah, is it wrong for us not to celebrate it as much as the rest of the country? I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, maybe this is something I've just noticed over the last few years, is this rebranding of instead of calling it like Independence Day or Hari Kebangsaan, right? You call it Hari Kebangsaan, Hari National Day, which is, I mean, it's kind of same thing, but there's this subtle kind of change, because I remember when we used to call it Hari Hari Merdeka all the time, you will always get comments from West Malaysians like, Malaysia didn't even exist at the time, so how could it be independent then? And then obviously after that, Sarawak Day came out, and then Sabah Day, which is August 31st as well. So I've noticed this, kind of that rebranding, and then now they're gonna do like it's that national month, right? So it's August until September 16th. So they celebrate that whole list of dates, which try to incorporate the whole thing. But I don't know. What do you see? Do you feel like it's kind of watered down what it means?
Well, in some ways, like 31st to this 16th, and we're literally having 16 days of celebrations. In some ways, well, if you're going to go back, then it's like, 22nd July all the way to September 16th. And it's hard for us to pinpoint one date that we can agree on because of the way the country was formed, and in some ways it's unique to just us in not.
Shouldn't all countries have that one big date?
Yeah, but we don't, because we were like, we were, because we're literally, and it is we're literally 3 countries in one.
Yeah.
Because it is literally 3 countries in one that became one big. And if you believe what Johor is doing, could be 4 countries in one, or the other states might turn around and goes, actually, that's why the states were all different countries in that sense. So you can get into that argument. But the Johor, I think Johor is probably just jealous because we're on an island, and sorry, but we are different.
I mean, yeah, and I don't want to get my facts wrong, but I feel I'm more solid on the idea of Sabah Sarawak being more sovereign.
Yes, I mean,
before it formed,
we were pre-sovereign.
But just the fact that that we don't have this, what is it? 7th of July was it? Is it the U.S.
Independence Day?
Yeah, what was it again?
4th of July.
4th of July, I can forget. Yeah, we don't have that one big flagship date, And then we should ask August 31st, and now we're trying to compromise and put all those dates together, which some might argue why aren't we just celebrating 16th September, But it's weird. Do you feel we are like a country with identity crisis?
You've only just realized that? No, I think we're very unique. I mean, if you really want that kind of argument, imagine if Indonesia was totally split between Java and then Sumatra and Makassar and all, Bali and all. Imagine how do you celebrate that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that familiar with their history, but I don't know. Maybe it's that sense that we do want to feel together but apart. We kind of want to just make our our status, our different autonomy really clear.
Well,
by having these dates and this But from my understanding, Indonesian, their provinces are very autonomous from each other.
I mean, the one thing they are good at, or rather what Indonesia did, was to assimilate everyone. And it is assimilation. It's not indoctrination. I mean, you can have the argument about them being indoctrinated, but they've assimilated through Bahasa Indonesia. So that's where they are disatukan lah, menyatukan, or they become one. But for us, because we have this, the one thing about, I was just about to say Sarawakians, but Malaysians is that we're very fierce in terms of keeping our culture intact. So that's why I remember my day was the one thing that we had this discourse about having Bahasa Malaysia as our national language. That's the one thing that's you and I both agree on, that should be prevalent in for every citizen, right?
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong as well. Indonesian, they're a bit more strict on you keeping your native names and things like that as well. So I don't know. It's just a different model of multiculturalism, integration. I mean, I wouldn't say which is better, but ours is different. It's we keep our individual cultures, but we kind of have a shared culture. Maybe that's based on language or whereas the other one is total assimilation.
That's why we can't decide what day we're going to celebrate, so we just have it all.
Are you saying you prefer the assimilation model?
No, I don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the fact that I don't have to worry about, when I was in in Bali, they have, of course, they have Balinese. They're a bit like in some ways they're like us in terms of we have our own language to speak to. When foreigners come, even if you live in Bahasa Indonesia, I have friends who've lived there who are American or that can speak Balinese as well. But a majority people will speak Bahasa Indonesia. So that's the main language. The Balinese are a bit more free in terms of them being able to speak their language. But they're like us, they'll switch to Bahasa Indonesia if need to. But when you hear it on TV and all that, it's only Bahasa. There's no, there's not like us where we have Mandarin news, English news. It's just Bahasa Indonesia, which is great. It's like the Thais. The Thais only have one. Even in their films in cinema dubbed in Thai. You don't have any, And remember we had that one thing where we wanted to follow the Thais, that you go to cinema, you listen to the national anthem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had that at one point for a while, right? And that,
didn't last long.
The spirit of, kemerdekaan lah.
Yeah.
But the Thais haven't, they're the one country that's never been invaded. So, of course they're very strong in terms of their national identity. And they have one king. They don't have a king that changes even us, we have king that changes every 5 years. So, you'll have different type of, royalty that will have different ideas and different stuff as well. So I'm not saying that, we are better or we're worse, but it's just that we're different. So with this thing about us not celebrating as heartily as the West for National Day, we do have a point because, we weren't really part of it in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak much on Indonesia, but it's really interesting to know like what are the individual histories of the different provinces. Like why I said that is because I think West Malaysians in general underestimate how far apart our like individual histories are for a long time. Like how we were a sovereign country for a long time. We were separated by literally an ocean, and it took a long time before we were even like put together under the same nation. Like if I'm not wrong, like before this our interactions, maybe it was during the Majapahit Empire or something like that. Like they were had.
That was trade.
Yeah, but then there was a big gap. Like after that, so we had our individual histories for a long time before we were thrust together, like during, the post-Brooke era. So I mean, that would do something for the psyche of like the Sarawakians growing up. I mean, we're not just, a nearby state with like a long shared history. Actually, we don't have a long shared history. So I think people underestimate that a lot in terms of. Why Sarawakians feel that way in terms of like why we celebrate like maybe Malaysia Day more than Merdeka Day.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you speak to the older generation. I was very lucky to have been able to interview my father. I mean, he's on YouTube and stuff, and he grew up in an era where he was under the British. Then became an independent country and then joined Malaysia. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what he felt about that. I mean, he had some strong views about everything while him growing up, and because he lived through that. We were all post Malaysia babies.
I think people underestimate how volatile like even the formation was.
Yes.
It wasn't just all like roses and like just joining together, holding hands, kumbaya. I mean, there was a lot of like what do you call it? There's a lot of people like there's a lot of disagreements and there's a lot.
I mean, I remember reading up on this. Actually, this was a time when I love finding about history anyway, and geography and history, something I should have pursued when I was younger. But because at the time I was interested in finding out about the Melanau culture and the Melanau community, especially in the 1800s. And there's so much history behind it. Not much written. There's a lot of oral, stuff. There are documented articles on it, but it was also to a point where for us just being identified as, because we were under Brunei Sultanate. Sarawak was a province of Brunei. In fact, at the time Brunei owned the whole of Borneo. So it was a bit different. And then now, growing up in this time and speaking to my father, and he was like, it was very different. He said even in the after the war, in post 45, Malaya was already eyeing Sarawak, but Tunku Abdul Rahman was already speaking to the British about So we from the conversation I had with my father, whether it's they're right or wrong, but it was either we join them, or be poor and either be taken over, and it was real at the time, or be part of Indonesia. So was it lesser two evils? It was or we didn't have the people to be able to secure our own borders. And till today, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why we are still part of Malaysia, is because, I mean, we're going to the politics and stuff now, but we need the armed forces to hold the borders. But in this day and age, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that because we're not at war with Indonesia, and I don't think they'll turn around and want to take over Sarawak, because it's just so different now. I mean, it's more about smuggling stuff across the border, between the borders, rather than people want to instigate a war because they want more land. Because in Indonesia itself, it's already hard to govern. Do they really want to take over the whole of Borneo? Although people said this is the reason why they built Nusantara on in Kalimantan. But come on, I don't think that's in this day and age. But strangest things have happened. I mean, I never thought we'll see Ukraine war. I never thought the Middle East conflict is heating up already.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree that the circumstances of the time is a lot more complicated than I could comment. Like in terms of like why we ended up, whether it's like we were coerced, whether we were allowed to join.
We don't know
whether it was a British project, whatever it was. I mean, we're here today. So like, do you feel that I don't want to say propaganda, but what's the role of the media?
It was propaganda at the beginning.
But I mean now, like, what's the role of the media in like nation building? Like, you feel like what do you think we should do now?
It's hard because we're a lot more with audiences and the citizens being able to get a lot more information with the touch of their fingers with the smartphone. I mean, there's always this argument that we're way too much information, not enough fact checking. And you know how things spread like wildfire here, and no one bothers to check, which is why a lot of the times, you know me personally, I don't comment, because I don't know what's going on until I hear from various sources. There have been times, yes, I've been caught and jumped on the bandwagon and done it in the past, and I was like, oh my God, why did I do that? Because but that has not helped in terms of where we want to really see ourselves. But it's also a good thing because other countries see us as really diverse, and they've been, especially now, and I've noticed also on social media, people who've come here to Malaysia, and they were taken aback because even hopefully now that we've got a lot more young West Malaysian kids and parents who've come to Sukma and seen the other parts of Sarawak, have realised that we may be behind in terms of some of our infrastructure, but we're the same people. We're people. We have internet. We have 5G too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't live on trees. Well, some of us may do, but that's by choice because it's luxurious, places. So, yeah, maybe it's a question we should be asking the younger generation, because I think this is where this is their time,
Yeah.
They don't have the hang-ups that we do, because especially like Gen X, we've gone through all sorts of changes, and from being patriotic on National Day, and probably you guys as well, and then suddenly there's Malaysia Day, we're not celebrating Sarawak Day,
Yeah, imagine kids growing up today with like all this.
Yeah.
Malaysia Day,
And for them it's normal, because they're but the question really is like, what is the real Malaysia? It should be September 16th, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah. But the thing is, Singapore left, so there's no celebration.
Yeah.
Maybe because 31st was the day that that set the ball rolling, so you could see it like that. They eventually became Malaysia.
So where do we go from here?
Oh, where do we go from here? Go round and round and round. No, I mean, what I've noticed especially the last 2-3 years, especially I've been here. Malaysia Day celebrations. I'm just looking at Wikipedia whether it's correct or not. But the only time that Malaysia Day was celebrated outside of Sabah and Sarawak was when it was in Malacca in 2022, Malacca City. What that has got to do with Malaysia Day, I'm not so sure, but it's always been celebrated in Sabah or Sarawak. This year's National Day is going to be in Putrajaya, the administrative capital of Malaysia. So rightly so, because Putrajaya represents all of us. It's not Kuala Lumpur. It's not it's not Selangor, blah blah blah. But I do feel that because does it make any sense for Malaya to be celebrating Malaysia Day in have their celebrations in Semenanjung? I do feel yes, because we've got a lot of East Malaysians in.
Actually, I would like to see Malaysia Day celebrated more in Semenanjung, because if anything, they are the ones who should be reminded of like what happened, not us. Like I mean, we know the story that we've been told like since we were in like school, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe the director's cut should be.
Director's cut.
Yeah, the uncut version should be like promoted more over there. I mean, I think it's a lot better now, and it's repeated long enough to know the story that Sarawak, Sabah.
Well, repeated by us, but whether they understand that or not, because a lot of it stems from the fact that we, like you mentioned earlier, we don't have a history with them prior to September 16, 1963.
Yeah, very very little. Maybe it was a big gap. With, there were interactions like early on, but it was a long.
The Cold War Commission, setting up that, but that's only prior to 63. I mean, maybe 5 years prior to that, because it took that long for them to agree.
Yeah, I mean, there was one Junaidi had an episode on that where he was like talking about how they. During the prehistory, and earlier on.
Pre-history,
not prehistory, pre-Malaysia. Sorry,
You make him sound very old.
Yeah, pre-Malaysia.
Oh my goodness.
No. Yeah. So not prehistoric times, but but yeah, after that there was a long gap of absence before, like you can say, the modern era. But yeah, I mean that gap is not insignificant at all.
That's right. I keep thinking about the prehistoric. I was thinking, which politician are you talking about now? Anyway, yeah, I mean, in that sense, this is why it's hard to explain to them why National Day is not of that. Why it is important, but not as important to us as it is to.
I mean, we were a sovereign country that was recognized by the US and the UK, you know, so you can't really discount that, to just say we were, you know, we just had like nationhood only after like Malaysia Day.
And plus, you know, until today, we don't have, I mean, they do have, you know, a couple of West Malaysian representative parties here, but we are very strong in terms of our local governance and local political parties having a big influence and obviously representation in government, both federal and obviously state as well.
Yeah.
So,
and if I'm not wrong, September 31st, 16th September and Sarawak Day as well. It was all gazetted, like, thanks to, you know, before this was Adnan, right, our friend, and then after this was, I think, followed by Amanjo after that. And obviously this helps them a lot, like this sentiment of like state nationalism, you know. So it's really in their interest to like have this gazetted as holidays and to have this history out there. So, you know, but then like, it's because it does align to like the sentiments of like the average Sarawakians. We do feel like, I mean, there's an untold story there, you know, in the history of Malaysia.
Well, even more so now in terms of, because we are geographically as large or even larger than Peninsula, that we should have more representation in terms of our seats in Parliament. That's another conversation for another day. But it does impact on, you know, if you want us to really be part of Malaysia, we should have more of a say. Because we've given you so much already. I mean, we've had this. Everyone knows about the you know, the revenues, all revenues and all that, all this argument, which will be forever, you know, discussed and
like having, just curious, having lived in West Malaysia for so long, receiving back, have you noticed like a shift in the way like people have like looks at Sarawak?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you make it sound as if I lived in Semenanjung for a long time. I lived everywhere. My address was there. But me personally, I was sort of everywhere. Especially of late. I don't know what it was. Maybe it came along with, I think the elections, the last federal elections, was a big turnaround. Maybe the one prior to that as well, when we became sort of kingmakers. Then we realized as a state at the time, that we could influence what was happening with our own. We could decide what we could do with our state. That's when obviously the West Malaysian parties began, when they started fighting each other. That gave us a massive advantage to basically let them know, look, hang on a minute, this is why, you know, we are different, because we don't have that kind of thing. When we fight, we fight like brothers and sisters. When they fight, it's like, I don't know, police and gangsters. I don't know. It's very different. We're quite united in the way we are, because even though we have different cultures, we're one people. You know, we don't have the. I'm not being racist or anything, but we don't have the, you know, Malay, Chinese, Indian. For us, it's, you know, the different tribes, but we're one people. You know, it's hard to explain to them That because, like you said, because we're on one island, for them it's one place. For us, it's one island, and apart from the British, I don't think anyone invaded us.
Japanese? Oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
they tried, but they didn't assimilate with us. You know, they didn't stay. Did you see any Japanese stay after the war? No, not much.
But then have you noticed like a shift in like, I don't know, maybe earlier on where they were like maybe just...
And if someone says the Chinese are everywhere, okay, so let's not even go there. Yeah.
Like they dismissed Sarawak, or maybe it wasn't even in their radar at all. Whereas now it's like, you know, they might have like maybe some positive views on it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this shift, like, because
no, I have.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
tremendously. Even more so now that we, you know, and it's a lot to do with Abang Joe and the way he's gained recognition, or rather, Sarawak has gained recognition in the last elections. See what the past and still, you know, is what's going on now with you know, we didn't saying that, you know, I had all the SDs, blah blah blah, and sort of insinuating that the king, the past king, which was Sultan Pahang, you know, changed things. But because of this first time that we've had a unity government, and no one party has the, you know, rule of law or are in charge, has given us massive influence in how the country is run now, and that has fallen onto our laps and fallen onto Abang Joe's lap in terms of how we set our own journey and our own direction. You know, in 2022 we saw basically, you know, well, actually ever since the elections we've been fighting to get MA63, and we're getting a lot more of that now. We are starting a sovereign fund. We are pushing now for the hydrogen economy. We're going into green farming, and a lot of it has to do with some stuff that we've never been able to do because people didn't believe in us. But now, with the, you know, being more autonomous and getting more federal funding, we're a lot bolder in terms of what we want to do. You know, so yes, as much as that we've had, you know, we have this August 31st, but that's why it's muted now, because it's not meaningless. For us, it's Sarawak Day, Malaysia Day. That's where, you know, somehow it's emboldened us to say, okay,
I think, I mean, it's clear to see that this is the best run of like positive press for Sarawak for a long time. And I mean, we have this, I remember the days of like every election that BN won, and then, you know, we will get, you know, being fixed deposits, we will get the dogs abuse like online, like consistently. It's a big shift from that. Like, I mean, sure, we're the kingmakers now, and you know, they have to pay attention to more. But just the fact that, I mean, we've increased our own revenue. Like, forget the federal funding. Like, we have been paying for most of our own shit, building our own bridges, building our own roads, and you know, this is coming of age now, which is like, I mean, rightly, I think Sarawakians feel proud of. But it's very clear that there's a shift in the media as well in terms of how they cover us. Like, it's almost as if like, you know how
they realized that there's this big state that they should have focused on.
Yeah, and then it tends to, you know, how a lot of the English media tends to maybe still this liberal. Maybe they align to a lot of our views as well. So when you have a state like Sarawak, it's a lot of say, and then when they say stuff like, you know, that promotes things like pluralism and things like that. I mean, the media is really happy to amplify it now. And fair enough, because there's those kind of values that Sarawak does represent. But it will surely annoy like a segment of the national population.
A segment,
I don't know how big. I'm not very sure.
You make it sound like, just a little bit. It's a big segment.
Yeah, if you say all passporters will be annoyed by that, then it's a huge segment.
Well, I have friends in Semenanjung, and I kid you not, I mean, especially this past year, saying how can I come over and live there? I say you can't. You're not Sarawakian. Imagine there'll be a massive exodus. Yeah. I'm not joking. There'll be a massive exodus from West Malaysia to East Malaysia, because they feel and they see that even through me, they're like, you look a lot happier. I'm like, yeah, of course I am. And they know why. The pace is slower than KL, but I see a future in it. And as a Sarawakian, why can't I finally take advantage of my own place and because I had to work really hard to make my name over in West Malaysia, and I know what it's like being East Malaysian, trying to make your way there, because once they find out we're from Sarawak, awak orang Sarawak, and I don't know what that meant.
Yeah,
it's like we're second class citizen, or we're no wonder you're different,
Yeah,
but some of them never come here.
Yeah,
and then they're like making judgments. But now, even as recent as Sukma, the rugby, and a lot of the guys, I know this always happens. Like we've taken our boys on rugby tours to Kuching and played, or even to Miri.
Yeah.
In fact, even to KK. Like, half of them don't want to come back after 2 days because it's so different. People are friendlier. People, are just genuinely genuine. And that's what foreigners say about Malaysians. Yeah. Imagine the ones that come here, even more like taken aback by our hospitality, and it's genuine hospitality. We know that. So, I'm not surprised this past year that a lot of people want to have something to do with us.
Yeah, the shift is really interesting to see. I remember as a kid, then going to KL. I remember my cousins who lived there. There was always do you live on trees, right? Then I remember working there after finishing uni, and then they asked me oh, you must be rich. Does your family chop trees? Are you some timber tycoon son? Yeah, because they can afford to live in KL. Then, but to see the shift now, oh, it's Sarawakian. Oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah. You're so lucky, right?
Yeah.
So of course we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've always been lucky from the start. Just that people didn't realize that. I love the fact that you remember the time when we used to come back and our friends would come over and they had to bring their passports.
Yeah.
I love that time. I'm still an advocate of that. Like, no, you got your IC? No, bring your passport.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Get a proper chop.
Yeah.
What's all this paper thing here? You might lose it.
Yeah. But I mean, having said that, you have obviously a wife from overseas. You have kids who grew up in West Malaysia. Do you? What do you feel?
Yeah, my ex-wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
From overseas.
Yeah.
No, she's Malaysian.
Is she?
Yes.
I thought she was born in Germany. Was it?
No. She's Malaysian.
Okay. See, I got my facts wrong already.
Yeah. They're all Malaysian.
Do you feel it should be easier for them to have a Sarawak PR?
Yes, because especially my children. My children are half Melanau. We all know that if one of your parents are Sarawakian, and Abang Joe said that, you're pretty much, especially me. I mean, come on, man, I'm Melanau. I mean, I think my family's quite established here. So I mean, they have every right to be Sarawakian. I mean,
but do you feel it should be easier for? I mean, I'm not saying I have an opinion either way, but do you think it should be easier for West Malaysians who want to settle here?
That's hard to say. This is something. This is why this MA63 thing has become so important in terms of because we have still undocumented people here too. Do you give those rights to West
Yeah.
Malaysians wanting to come over, or people who are up in the highlands.
Yeah.
For example, some of the Penais that they don't have documents.
Yeah, document, yeah.
They have more right to be here to become Sarawakians than West Malaysians. So if we start saying yes to them, we're doing a disservice to our own people who live and born here. Even before this, remember, we had children who were second, third generation Chinese, or even half orang putih and all that,
Yeah.
who don't have the right to own land.
Yeah.
Does that mean that they're Sarawakians? They got K, but now they've changed it so that if you have family or father, a parent who is Sarawakian, yes, you're entitled to own land, because we need to do that, because we are an aging population as well here in Sarawak, and there's a lot of old people here.
Yeah.
For them to be, even my mum was talking about the Kenyalang card. For us to have a Kenyalang card, it says a lot about us being an aging population, because we've had brain drain as well to Kuala Lumpur or Johor. I mean to West Malaysia. So we've got to be careful about because when you let other people in, it's also a change in the culture. Yeah. And do we want that? I mean, it's one thing having Sabah and Sarawakians, but we're the same people. We're island people.
Yeah, I mean
from Borneo, rather.
the nationalist in me is like, of course you understand the fear that if you get flooded by outsiders, right? I mean, it will change the makeup and the culture of the country. But looking at all the things that the state is trying to do in all those different industries, I mean, you just can't see how it would be done without talents from outside. I mean, it just can't be Sarawakians.
Which is why now there's this. I'm telling you as an outsider Sarawakian, okay, from my point of view. So the Premier has said that he wants, a lot more Sarawakians to come back. The ones who are overseas talented Sarawakians to come back.
Well,
it's the same call that Malaysia with Talent Corp. They said, come back to Malaysia, you'll get really good jobs, we'll take care of you, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And why haven't many of them come back? Because as much as from the outside we say come in, from the inside, the ones who are in the jobs and wanting the better ones saying, no, you can't have the jobs because we're already established. Why are we bringing on them? They left. We have a lot of brain drain because the people who were given the opportunities who were more qualified. So meritocracy, that's one. And they could do the job, but because maybe skin color, this and that, that's why they left. And now we're trying to bring them back. So internally, we're doing that now. You're from West Malaysia, come back home and help build the state. So we come back, but are we really wanted here? That's the question I ask. It's not because I'm better, I'm more experienced. Definitely, I've worked around the world. Is it my arrogance that makes them scared? Don't you want to learn also? We want to teach. We want to be able to, we're Sarawak and I'm Sarawakian. Do you want to make me feel like an outsider? So there's the questions like, do you want me to celebrate National Day 31st or you want me to celebrate September 16th? Or so when you ask me 3 years on, I want to celebrate Sarawak Day because I feel more Sarawakian. But are you making you make me? Do you appreciate the fact I'm back? You asked me 3 years on, do I feel more Sarawakian? I do. I feel more at home. But as an experienced talent, career-wise, where am I? Because the opportunities out there are still better. But if you want us back, you've got to trust us to help you build, because we always have this fear of, outside people going to take our jobs. I'm not from the outside. I'm Sarawakian. I have family, I have roots here. I was born here, and I used to come back a lot. It's just that it's just different. But I'm not an outsider. But don't treat me like one. And because there are times, and as we celebrate Merdeka, there are times I do feel like an outsider when I'm trying to help out. So that's where we've got to be really careful, because there's a lot of people like me who want to come back, but are afraid to, because are we going to be, are you going to treat you're okay with getting a foreigner coming in and teach you your stuff because because they're white? I don't know. They're not better than me. I know this for a fact, because some of these guys I've worked with, and they're like, I got them the job and they didn't. But
will you pay a Sarawakian as much as you're going to pay
exactly.
this white guy?
So that's my question. I mean, I can speak English too. Probably a lot better than most of them, and understand more. And I can switch into Bahasa Sarawak and Bahasa Melanau, and I'm just learning, Iban along the way and other languages, and pick up faster, and understand that when they see me, I can speak to the guys low and who are, because they have an affinity to me. So does that mean I should be paid less? See, so this is where we question as outsiders coming in. Yeah, we are very patriotic, but give us the chance to prove to you that we're as good, if not better, than the guys that you think you should be hiring. That's all we ask. It's almost like internal racism for us. It's like I don't feel like an expat. I'm not an expat, but you treat expat better than me. And that's why Malaysians outside who are, and there's quite a number of them, they want to come back, but will they be treated like Malaysians, or will we start getting into this? Everyone's, just because you're there, you've been away, you think you're better. Maybe one or two bad apples, but generally, I didn't get into this, industry to get a bad reputation, so it does come back to us being questioned whether we're patriotic or not. So that the Merdeka Day, the Malaysia Day, the Sarawak Day, it really impacts us even more. I've been such a great ambassador of Sarawak more than Malaysia when I'm abroad. That I tell everyone I'm very proud Sarawakian. But I come home, I'm like, sometimes I do feel like,
on holidays, like when they ask me where I'm from, I'll say Borneo. Malaysia, Borneo. So
it's not nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's just like you said, our histories are so different. I am very proud to be. My father he's always like he's Sarawakian first, and he's 84. And he's been there. He's still alive, and he's not going to change. He will defend Sarawak first, because he is the one of the very few like our Totnan, the late Totnan, our Totnan was very much Sarawakian first. And as you can see now, going back to the question you asked in the beginning, how do I feel? Yeah, I do. I mean, 31st of August is significant in terms of the country, but as a Sarawakian, it's become less and less important moving forward, because we already know where Malaysia is, so let's not harp on about it's just another holiday.
Well, like you said, it'll be interesting to see what Gen Z and younger thinks about this, because in the end they are the ones who will be carrying this thing forward, whether they do or not. So.
Well, Gen Z.
I don't know. Maybe we'll ask your kids when they come of age.
Yeah. So. Well, they're they're children of the world now.
Yeah.
I think the younger generation especially, it's things like Sukma that fires your imagination. That's why I said, I talked to you about this before Sukma said, and everyone didn't really get it until Sukma came about. Sports plays a massive part in unifying people, unifying everyone. I mean, in my day, sports and education were hand in hand. That's how great nations were built. It wasn't just because everyone was academic. It was a mixture of both. Because you needed to have both. Until today, you still need both. Even with like esports, it's sports. It's still esports. It gets the mind going. Not everyone's going to be, as much you push your children to be academics and finance and all that, you still need other people to run the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on that note, but just like pleased to say that, I mean, I love that we get a holiday for Merdeka Day and Sarawak Day.
We're the one country
with the most holidays.
No, we don't.
I think.
The country I looked this up years ago. I think it's still Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Japan? Oh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought so, but
it was Japan. I remember. Time I used to have a Japanese girlfriend. Long ago. Yeah.
But if I'm not wrong, Sarawak is the state with the most holidays.
Oh yeah. I think that goes without saying,
Yeah.
because except that we don't celebrate
Deepavali.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's keep Merdeka Day and Sabah Day as well. Yeah.
So the
Sabah
conclusion
Day.
of
Yeah.
this whole this whole podcast for this edition is like, yeah, we're okay with National Day.
Yeah.
We may not celebrate it as much, as heartily as you guys do in Semenanjung. We still celebrate it because it's part of Malaysia.
Yeah.
But
And we all love holidays.
Yeah, we didn't get the Sukma holiday.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
We tried. Everyone tried. Everything was like, if we get a gold medal, we will have a holiday. You know. But if we do get a gold medal, we should have a holiday because we've never had a gold medal ever. I mean, that's like,
You mean in Sukma?
no.
I heard it was in
Olympics.
Oh, in Olympics. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, sure.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. So.
I think that be cause for celebration because it's the first person to get a gold medal in the history of 60 over years of okay, now that's Malaya, right? You see?
Yeah, that just sums it up,
Yeah.
this identity crisis. Yeah.
We'll continue having identity crisis in Malaysia. So that was myself, Rashid Saleh and Jason Sim, and you've been watching the RSS. See you soon. Bye.